continue with our programming here on News Talk 1370 WCOA. You're listening to the Sheriff's Report here on this second half of Talk at 10. Glad to have you with us. Hope your day is going moderately well. We devote this show to activities and programs of the Escambia County Sheriff's Department. They buy this time so that you can keep up with what they are doing. We are pleased to have with us as our, I'm not really your host, I'm your button pusher and phone answerer, but Allison Morgan has joined us, as she often does, and Amber Southard is here. Good morning, Amber.
Good morning, Don. How are you?
And I see we have a special guest. I'll allow you guys to introduce him when we get to that thing. Yes. Let me go to you, Allison. You're the protocol officer for the Escambia County Sheriff's Department. How do you view the purpose of this show that we're doing today? And I don't mean because of him, I mean because in general.
It's a great way for us to reach out to the community, let you know what's going on at the Sheriff's Office, investigations that relates to our Public Information Office, and then what I do, a lot of events at the Sheriff's Office, and we can let you know about those and any seminars coming up at the Sheriff's Office that we would love for you to know about. It's a great way for us to keep you informed on that.
And you just finished an excellent event. I'm referring, of course, to the annual observance of the memorial that you have for those officers who have lost their lives in service to the Escambia County Sheriff's Department. I tried to attend it. We were there this year, and it was just really, really impressive. You guys get better and better at that.
Thank you, and thank you for attending. We appreciate that. We actually just uploaded the video that we played at the memorial on our YouTube channel, which is Escambia PIO. So if you check out our YouTube channel, you'll see the video there. We would love for you to watch that.
All right. Amber Southard has joined us, a familiar name and face to many of us for your many years with WEAR TV3.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how come I'm not hearing you? Maybe.
Oh, I don't know. We can turn it
a
on.
little bit
There
louder, I guess.
There
Yeah, maybe crank it up there. Yeah. How many glorious years did you spend there at Channel 3?
I was there for about 4 years at Channel 3, and before that I worked for WJHG out of Panama City. So I've worked the Panhandle in the news business.
Now, I've gone the other way. I spent a good number of years as the PIO at the Escambia County Sheriff's Department and then flipped over to the media. So you and I could share it from a different view there. We've seen it from both sides.
That's it, and it's a great way to actually see it. You know, as a crime reporter for several years, fell in love with what these men and women do every day. Just couldn't really do it myself. It takes a special person, and that's what they are. So to be able to come on this side and advocate for them and to show the good work that they do, and it's, you know, most of the time we have interactions with law enforcement, some people want to give it a negative connotation, getting a speeding ticket or whatever it may be. They do so much more, and so that's the wonderful part about my job is I get to see that extra mile that they go, talking to that child at a crime scene and giving them a stuffed animal, making them feel comfortable, or helping somebody on the 3 Mile Bridge or the Bob Sykes Bridge when their tire goes flat, changing a tire. These are things that most people don't get to hear about, so I get to brag about that. From
it doesn't make the headlines, and yet it provides valuable service. Special guest today, I see that you have brought the Chief Deputy along with you.
I feel like we need a drum roll.
Yeah, special. I've been called worse by you and Jim before, so
yeah, he's used to the abuse that we heap upon him. Chief Deputy Haines has joined us. We spent a bit of time talking about your job today, interestingly enough.
I heard that. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah. Well, I describe you essentially as an executive officer, meaning you don't have the ultimate authority, but you get all the headaches.
Yeah, I describe it when I go to speak for the sheriff that there's 2 things that I do, and that's what the sheriff can't do because he's not he can't be everywhere at once. So if he's out of town, I fill in for him, or if he's somewhere else, I fill in for him, and then I do what he doesn't want to do.
Exactly.
And I have to clarify that for groups, like, hey, he wants to be here, but he's out of town. But there are other things that he doesn't, necessarily want to do. I get to do that fun stuff too.
Well, of course, you're essentially the chief personnel officer for the department in a lot of ways, so you have all of those responsibilities, in addition to all the joy that comes with annual budget battles and those sort of things.
Yeah, and there's things that the sheriff shouldn't have to get involved with. I try to take care of those. If it comes to, if I need the heavy battleship guns to come on out, and then I've got the sheriff in my back pocket, and I speak for him. And there's nothing that he does that I go out and do without him knowing and preparing, and we know this is what I'll do, and if I need him to come on out, he'll carry the big guns. And then there's other battles that he just likes to fight himself, and I'm happy to let him take those as well.
But you use an interesting analogy there and an interesting example. Most people are not aware of the subtle differences, legally speaking, between the various law enforcement agencies. But if you're a deputy sheriff, you're just that. You are the sheriff acting in his or her name, as opposed to a member of the police department who normally acts for the city. You don't act directly, legally speaking, for the chief, even though he or she is your boss.
Yeah, this is subtlety that I explain to our supervisors and deputies all the time. They are legally Sheriff Morgan, and they have no authority except for him. So the only reason that the Constitution allows for deputy sheriffs is because he can't be everywhere all at once. So that's also the reason that there's a lot of lawsuits, is because when the deputy goes out and uses excessive force, it's the same as if Sheriff Morgan went out and used excessive force, which is why we're so keen on discipline and running a tight ship, because it's mini David Morgans, every deputy that you see.
And there are some certain types of legal papers that can only be served by the sheriff, even inside the city limits, and that's again a fine legal point here, but it is an important one when it comes to jurisdictions.
Correct. Yeah, and there's a lot of nuances between the difference between a law enforcement officer when it comes to deputy sheriff versus police officers and their powers. I tell everybody, if you really, in the Citizen Law Enforcement Academy, we are the de facto timber agents in town. Of course, we lease that out because I certainly don't know what the responsibilities of that are. So when it comes to animal control and things like that, there's a lot of things that the sheriffs have that, just through centuries of being sheriffs that the state legislature has dumped on them and they have to do.
Right. 478-3116, you have a question for our guest. Our special guest today is Chief Deputy Eric Haines. Also Amber is here, also Allison is here. I is here, but I'm your phone answerer and button pusher here. We would be happy to hear from you. Allison, this show is being streamed, I believe, even as we speak.
Yes. Hi, Facebook fans. We are live right now on Facebook, so we would love for you to either comment right on our Facebook page if you have a comment or a question, or call in at 478-3116.
Stacey, are you getting Chief Haines in this shot? Because they do want to see and know who our chief deputy is for sure, and any
Speak
questions
for
for
yourself.
him.
Yeah, I was going to say, they probably want to know. I don't know
He'd
that
be
they're gonna
happy
see.
to,
Yeah.
to answer them.
I tell Don all the time I have a face built for radio, so this is like blending lines that aren't meant to be blended.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's go back before we return to the Chief Deputy and talk about some of the upcoming programs that you, I'm sure, want to mention today.
Absolutely. We have one particular program that's coming up that we absolutely love. And, most of the time during the summer, you wonder, what can we do with our children? We're trying to pick summer camps. We're trying to pick the best one for them. Pick ours. We have Camp Friendship, and it's great. It's we have it for 2 weeks. It's a week long at each school this year. So it's a summer day camp for boys and girls, ages 6 through 12. It's free. We're accepting 40 kids. It helps to bridge the gap between law enforcement and children in the community. The different presentations each day by Escambia County Sheriff's Office, K-9 unit, SWAT, crime scene. So they get to kind of see what law enforcement does. They get to know law enforcement officers on a different level than just seeing them around the school in their uniforms. They actually get to talk to them. They're there with them all day. They also get free lunch and 2 free snacks while they're there. So that's something good for them to be there. And the first one's going to be at Pleasant Grove Elementary School, and that's going to be June 6th through the 10th. The second one's going to be at Inslee Elementary School, June 13th through the 17th. Now, if you want to sign your child up or you want to learn more about it, come to our front lobby. That's going to be at 1700 West Leonard Street. Ask for the paperwork, fill it out. Ask to speak to Sergeant Delirian Wiggins if you want to hear more, if you want to call up to the office and learn more about it. And that number is going to be 436-9620. And again, ask for Sergeant Delirian Wiggins. He will be able to explain the camp more. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And this year, I think they're doing something a little different. I think they're taking them on field trips to learn more about the historic side